So it's been pretty clear from the moment Alpine signed Jack Doohan for the 2025 season that they didn't actually want him in their car. I'm sure we've all been in that situation. You commit to something, say to babysit your neighbour's kid every Thursday, then straight away realise he's an annoying little shit, and you're forced to stay good to your word, all while spending every evening theorising how accidental it would look if the little was found at the bottom of the stairs, with his head caved in with a fucking brick. That being said, you've just got to feel sorry for good old Jack Doohan, who spent his entire life building up to this moment to finally secure a full-time drive in Formula 1, only to spend it perpetually looking over his shoulder at some Argentinian geezer who's popped up out of nowhere. Coming into the 2025 championship, for a man with minimal experience of being in the middle of a media storm, you've got to praise Doohan for navigating it well, although just 6 rounds into the year, is that facade beginning to fade. Despite taking home his first official win in the Miami Lego race on Sunday, Jack Doohan was out on the first lap when the lights went out for real. And while just a few weeks ago we thought he was safe until the summer break, all of a sudden the rumours around the switch are circulating once again. And this time it could even take place before the next race of the season at Imola in 2 weeks' time. We could spend a decade arguing over whether this is fair or not. Reality is, this is Formula 1, and no one gives a flying f***, particularly not this guy. So let's break this down. Is this the right decision? Starting with... Okay, that's about that covered. Now for... Okay, no, let's give him some credit here. You're walking into a new team with an experienced and highly rated teammate, and your first race, I'm not counting Abu Dhabi, given he was dropped in from the fucking gulag, is your home Grand Prix, and it's utterly pissing it down. Getting into Q2 then, considering this was an Alpine at the end of the day, was not bad when many expected Jack to drown into irrelevancy. Granted, that might have happened the day after, but we're not there yet, hold your horses. Doohan would get much closer to Gasly come the second round of the season in China, out-qualifying him in the sprint and staying within 2/10 of the Frenchman come actual Grand Prix qualifying. All this on the track he had little to no experience on, and during a weekend with just a singular practice session to get your eye in. Not the easiest of circumstances. I mean, just ask Liam Lawson. Doohan's quali pace turned even more heads as we worked our way through the first quarter of the season. Narrowly missing out on Q3 in Bahrain looks like a solid performance, but reality was he looked way more competitive just before that, arguably the better of the two Alpines up to that point in the weekend. Miami would then be the second time Doohan beat his teammate on merit, 3/10 faster in Q1, enough for Jack to make it through, and for Gasly to end his Saturday afternoon early, down in 18th. And off the track, the Aussies received praise as well, becoming highly recommended by the trackside team, all coming together to make us think the possibilities of a switch were off the cards just a few short weeks ago. But as I've hinted at, it wasn't all plain sailing for Jack here. We can't avoid the mistakes, all rookies make them, but when Doohan's been under the spotlight, it doesn't make for great reading. Lasting only a handful of corners into your debut isn't the best first impression, nor does attempting to speedrun a race ban come the next round of the championship in China. Both of these rather outshadowed his encouraging pace earlier in both weekends, and it didn't get much better when Japan rolled around. Ayrton Senna may have won a championship with this line back in the 90s, but Jack Doohan isn't fighting for a championship. He's fighting to remain in Formula 1, and trying to enter Turn 1 without closing your DRS is the sort of thing you'd expect to see from someone in the F1 game space, or someone recently added to Suicide Watch. This crash not only totaled the car, it prevented Doohan from getting any realistic running prior to qualifying. Granted, some of the fault falls on the team here too. They decided to sit Jack out for FP1 on a circuit he'd never driven before and replace him with a guy who was just about to jet off to Haas for the next Grand Prix. Either way, this became a throwaway weekend after this. Jack may have bounced back in Bahrain, but the following race in Saudi Arabia was nothing to shout about. And despite that qualifying performance in Miami, the points are dished out for the races, and unfortunately for Jack, not the Lego ones. Turn 1 was deemed a racing incident, but it's also one that, given Jack's precarious position in the team, he needed to avoid. And so here we are again, with Franco Colapinto looming in the mirrors. But is he any better? I've made several videos on Franco Colapinto before, and every time they've aged like this group of kids. Sorry, I know I'm using this clip in every video at the moment, but it reappeared on my timeline, and it's just too funny to leave out, especially when they leave this sound effect in. Anyway, back to the point. When Franco was jettisoned into the team to replace Sergeant Hussein, no one really knew who this guy was, and as a result, we all expected him to be dog shit. In reality, he exceeded expectations. All of a sudden, he was the next rising star, the driver everyone wanted, even maybe the next Ayrton Senna. Yeah, I can't lie, people saying this also had a hole through their head. This guy had pace though, and proved it, scoring points early on and making us think Alex Albon was rubbish for a bit, though that man's pace utterly confuses me at this point. Does Colapinto have more pace than Doohan then? Well, in a different team, it's hard to say, but it's not all positive for the young Argentinian here. was a stage towards the end of 2024 where Colapinto was being tipped for a Red Bull drive, and then it all seemed to fade away, and that possibly has something to do with what happened when he found F1's closest to the wall meter and saw that as a challenge. Big crashes in Las Vegas and Brazil tanked the new boy's stock, right as he seemed to have the world at his fingertips, and when you look at what we have coming up on the calendar, yeah, that's going to be fun, isn't it? We also kept spending the back end of 2024 comparing Franco Colapinto to Logan Sargent, which is a bit like comparing Miss America to the f***ing Gruffalo. It's very much a case of rose-tinted glasses at the end of the day. Mix in some inconsistent races towards the back end of the season as well, and you start to wonder just how much of an upgrade Franco would actually be over Doohan here. Speaking of... So if we try to simplify this, Alpine want to replace an inconsistent driver who crashes a lot with another inconsistent driver who also crashes a lot. One could argue that Colapinto's ceiling looks to be higher, but remember, we're working with an incredibly small sample size on that one. Once again, let's just ask Liam Lawson. Doohan has the advantage of being in the seat right now, when having had all the pre-season preparation to bed in with the team in the car. Colapinto has the advantage of money, and quite a lot of it, meaning poor Jax had to mope around the paddock, decorated in the browns, advertising his potential replacement. Franco still has some stock out there, and no doubt will be on the driver market heading into 2026. When Alpine signed him to a long-term deal at the end of last year, it was essentially saying this was a case of when rather than if, though I guess worst case scenario, they get a huge payout at the end of the day. I don't see it coming to that though, and with Doohan's position looking more and more untenable by the day, I think it could well be a matter of time before the team opt to make that switch, and with a week off now prior to a European triple header, if it's going to happen, now makes the most sense in order to secure Franco the most amount of preparation as possible. That could well spell the end for Jack Doohan then, which I can't lie, is a massive shame. Did this guy have world champion written over him when he made his way into the sport? I mean, of course not, but very few in Formula 1 realistically do. The spotlight should really be on Alpine here then, for engineering this impossible situation from the get-go. Their mismanagement of the whole ordeal, both from within the team and when facing the media, has led to all this increased pressure placed on Doohan, and thus led to the string of crashes and mistakes that have inevitably led to his downfall. But that's Formula 1 in a nutshell at the end of the day. Despite the position Jax ended up in, if he'd been able to be more consistent out on track and less able to turn his Alpine into an F1 Authentics piece, well, we wouldn't be having this conversation. I say that Colapinto's been testing in the car at points all season long, conveniently at Imola. Now I wonder if that's a coincidence. We all know how my videos age though, so watch this not come to pass, and Jack score a podium when he returns in Imola. Regardless, let me know your thoughts on all this down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this one, then I'll be uploading all throughout the 2025 season, so get subscribed for all of that, and big ups to the patrons and members as well, just in case you want early access or want to hear even more from me for some reason. I'll be back with another video soon though. Until then, in honour of Jack Doohan, let's have the meme one more time.
I just doing the car!